Okay, lab number 2 today, 5th graders, called our Raisins Lab. We're going to go through the scientific method again today to show you how this one is done. And we have all the science teachers here as well. Mr. Vermont, Mrs. Frontero, Mrs. Tate.
Okay, so to start the lab off, 5th graders, you need to know what the problem is that you're trying to solve. That's step 1 of the scientific method, and it is what will happen to the raisins when you mix them with 7-Up.
And today for the lab, you're going to need some materials. So we have raisins. We're going to use about 4 or 5 of them. We have a clear cup, and we have some 7-Up. So take a minute and please record those 3 materials on your lab sheet. After your materials have been recorded, we are going to go ahead and make a hypothesis. So the raisins you need to think about, predict, what do you think is going to happen? Will the raisins dissolve, sink and explode, dance up and down, or float? Please take a minute to complete your hypothesis before we start.
Okay, so the next step is the procedure. So if you look down at the paper, it tells you exactly the steps that you need to do. And this is a safe lab to do on your own. You still might need an adult to help you get the materials, but it is something that you can do in your kitchen later on today if you want and try it out, maybe with a different soda or something like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our 7-Up and we're going to pour it into our cup. And then right after we do that, we're going to drop several raisins in and see what happens. So I'll pick a few raisins, maybe 4 raisins. All right, here we go. So if you look real close, you can see that the raisins are doing what? They're dancing up and down, right? They keep popping up from the bottom, and all those bubbles are causing the raisins to dance up and down. Pretty cool.
So, in conclusion, the raisins dance up and down. So on your lab, you should fill out your conclusion right now that the raisins will dance up and down.
And the last part of your lab today is to draw, color, and label the experiment. Please remember to do all 3 steps.
And I also think it's important as you're watching, you see Mr. Damiani showing you those cool raisins. What we don't want you to do is go back and change your original hypothesis, right? It's okay if you did not have the hypothesis that was supported. And remember, we don't really say it's a correct or an incorrect hypothesis. It's either supported or it wasn't supported. So if you chose A, the raisins will dissolve, that's okay. In your conclusion, you would say the raisins will dance up and down. They did not dissolve. And so that's okay to say. It's okay to have an unsupported hypothesis.
Now, friends, you might be asking yourself, why are the raisins dancing up and down? And if you look very closely at the raisins, you'll notice that bubbles seem to stick to the raisins, and then the raisins start to float to the top. I'm going to add a little bit more soda to this, which will give it some more bubbles in there, actually. So what happens is the bubbles stick to the raisins, and then it kind of lifts the raisins up to the top, as this is doing right now. Once they get to the top, the bubbles pop, and then the raisins sink again. And that is because if you did a little research about 7-Up soda, you know that it has carbon dioxide in it. So these bubbles are actually carbon dioxide that stick to the raisin, and carbon dioxide is less dense or lighter than the raisins, so it lifts the raisins up. Then the carbon dioxide pops and the raisin falls back down again.
Might be cool to try it with maybe Coca-Cola, although it would be hard to see the raisins, or maybe Mountain Dew, or something else, that maybe even just seltzer water, and see what different kind of results you might get with different kinds of carbonated beverages.
Lastly, on your picture, please make sure that you're including not just soda in a line, But include the carbon dioxide bubbles that are on the raisins as well as just in the soda.
It's interesting to see too that some of the raisins are bouncing up and down or dancing up and down, and others are not. And I wonder why, Mr. Vermont, that is happening. Can you tell us or explain why some of those are jumping up and down and the others are not?
What a great question, Mr. Damiani.
Thanks, Mr. Vermont.
Absolutely. Well, if you look at some of the raisins, if you look over here at our dry raisins right here, they're all different sizes. So it all depends, I think, on what size raisin you put in. If I put this little guy in, maybe he will dance a little bit more. Shaking a little bit down there. Then if you put a real big raisin in, the bigger raisin is heavier, it's more dense, so it takes more bubbles to lift it up. But the littler raisins might give you a little bit more dancing action going on.
All right, guys, please make sure that you filled out your lab report completely and that you also have pictures and labels, as we have already stated, on your drawing. And we hope you enjoyed our second lab.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.